What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today with your Week 0 predictions. We are going to go over all 5 games. We'll do this every single week, obviously, but with more than 5. We are going to finish it off with the Iowa State-Kansas State game, which ironically starts off our college football season at 11 a.m. tomorrow. At least it does Central Time. So do the calculations for what it is for you. And then we'll also make my underdog pick of the week. So I will let you know when we get to that. But let's get on into it. We are starting it off with Idaho State, who was coming off a 5-7 year under coach Cody Hawkins. UNLV coming into year 1 of Dan Mullen. They have a interesting collection of talent on UNLV. Kind of the big names here: Anthony Calandria, former starting QB; Alex Georgie, obviously the former Michigan starting QB; Justin Flo, a former 5-star, played at Oregon. All three of these guys never really worked out in their former destinations. I think moving down a level and playing at UNLV is good for all three of them. Obviously, Calandria and Orgy are going to split kind of time, and it's kind of felt like that's the case so far. 2 days ago they said they're going to split time at QB. So both of those guys are guys that have an opportunity to prove something. And then you look at Flo. Flo has always been a guy that's kind of struggled to stay on the field and stay healthy, but very, very exciting player, can make very big impact plays, fast, strong, obviously. Just health has never really went in his his favor. So hopefully this year he can stay healthy. But UNLV has an interesting collection of talent. Jalen Glover at the running back, another talented player. UNLV should win this game. Now the spread on this game is, let's see here, it's 26.5. I do tend to think UNLV beats that. I think it's going to be close. My score in my head for this game is 35-7, which is about 28 points. I think UNLV is good. I don't necessarily think they're going to run Idaho State out of the building, but I don't think Idaho State's going to make this a real close game either. I just don't see UNLV running up the score or anything crazy like that. But I also don't see Idaho State just doing much, if that makes sense. So we're going with UNLV, but we're going with UNLV and we're picking UNLV to win over the 26.5. So we think it's about 28 points. So that is UNLV for us. Next, we are getting into the next game of the week. That's Fresno State going up against Kansas. Now, Fresno State, I'm not going to lie to you. The name I would watch out for, and I would watch out for this guy because potential NFL guy, Bryson Donaldson, potential breakout candidate for this team. I think he is really, really talented. I think if this season goes the way that Fresno State fans and themselves are hoping, I think Bryson Donaldson's going to become a household name. That's going to be kind of what they need to happen. I think he's a really talented running back. But I look at this Kansas team. This is a team that had high hopes last year, obviously didn't really meet them. And I think part of that is Jalen Daniels kind of had a down year from what I think he's capable of. I think he's a really talented quarterback. He's somebody that is obviously dual threat and can create some problems for teams. This team also did lose Devin Neal and did lose, I believe his name was Arnold, the receiver. So you can convince me that this Kansas State team might lose this game, but I'm going to rock with them. I feel like I always rock with Kansas. I kind of have a soft spot for their football team. I'm not sure why. Daniel Highshaw, I assume, is going to be their RB1 if I had to guess. Kansas, though, I like Daniels. I'm going to rock with Daniels. Now, I don't think this is a good game for the spread. The spread, at least on the score, is 14.5. I think it's going to be closer than that. I think it's going to probably be somewhere around the lines of 28-21 in the favor of Kansas. So next we get to Sam Houston going up against Western Kentucky. Another game that I think is a little sketchy. I don't think either of these teams necessarily should be huge favorites to win. I am going to go with Western Kentucky to win. I think they just have the better collection of talent. But I look at both of these teams, I'm not necessarily inspired, if that makes sense. I think both of these teams could maybe be good at their levels. I don't necessarily think one of these teams is gonna like steamroll the other. I think this could be a really competitive game. Now the line is 9.5, at least on this app. The score, I kind of like that line. I think it's gonna be close. I'm going with Western Kentucky to win 28-24 over Sam Houston. I like Western Kentucky a slight bit more. This isn't a game, though. I think there is a clear cut favorite. Now, if you're looking at like the odds money line style, like just who's supposed to win, negative 425 for Western Kentucky. Don't love that. Don't love that. I'm not that confident in Western Kentucky, but they should beat Sam Houston. I'm leaning that way, but it's not something that I'm very, very confident about. Next, we get to another very exciting game, and this is going to be my underdog pick of the week, and that is Stanford going up against Hawaii. Hawaii slight favorites at 2.5. I like Stanford over Hawaii here. Now, that might be crazy. Now, it's only plus 110 odds. Now, not saying to bet anything. I'm just looking at like who is the favorite according to like the odds makers, right? Hawaii, I think, is good. I do. I think Hawaii is going to be very solid this year. Obviously, you look at their quarterback situation. They have Micah Alejo. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. They have a collection of receivers that always seem to be like over 1,000 or at 1,000 yards. This is really just gonna be. I want to pick Stanford, right? Like I think the collection of talent on Stanford, while it's not great, is better than the collection of talent at Hawaii. And I look at Frank Reich, and former NFL guy, right? And you doubt he's going to be somebody that's going to be there for a long time at Stanford because he is the interim. He has been Goldbranson at QB, who has been a solid. I mean, he's not great, but he's been a college QB before, right? I think Frank Reich, with kind of his experience as a coach, is going to be able to get the job done. I don't think the talent blatantly favors one side. If it does, I think Stanford might have the slight edge there. But I think coaching-wise and getting the best out of their players, I think I got to give it to Timmy Chang in Hawaii. I think Timmy Chang is one of the better coaches out there. Always seems to have Hawaii doing well. Now, obviously, Hawaii plays a very unique style of football, right? They're going to air it out, and there's really not much you can do about it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's one of those really exciting football styles to watch. I would be nervous if I'm Stanford, but I am going to take Stanford in a slight victory. 2.5 is the line. It's supposed to be close. I'm going to take Stanford to win. It doesn't matter about the line because I'm already picking Stanford to win, right? I'm going to say it's going to be a high score. Now, I can see this game being high scoring from the Hawaii side. I'm just hoping that it is from the Stanford side, based off just because I want to get this prediction right. So I am gonna go with Stanford winning 45-42 on a last-second field goal. I don't love that prediction, but I do want to pick Stanford against Hawaii. And the game of the week, the one everybody should be talking about, the one that actually starts off our college football season, I think that's an absolute treat, is Kansas State going up against Iowa State. Now, Kansas State and Iowa State both wound up in my top 25. I did a top 25 with my friend group, and moral of the story, we had Kansas State at 14, and we had Iowa State at 23. We think both these teams are going to be good. Now, my own personal rankings with Kansas State and Iowa State, I had Iowa State at 20, and Kansas State I had at 14. So, there you have it. There you have it. I think this is going to be a good game. I tend to like the side of Kansas State. Now, Iowa State's defense is going to be good. I know that. I think Iowa State has the advantage defensively. I do really like this Kansas State offense, though. I think Avery Johnson's in for a big year. I look at Rocco Becht, and I see a guy here that has lost some of his top receivers. Obviously, with Higgins and Knoll being gone. Not to say they can't find replacements. I just think week one to expect that to already be solved is kind of insane. I look at Kansas State though, and I see a starting QB that's back. I think their running back Dylan Edwards is really solid as well. I just think if there's an offense I trust more, it's gonna be the Kansas State offense, just because Rocco Becht hasn't got his like top playmakers from last year back. But I do think Kansas State. I was really impressed with Avery Johnson last year. I thought he did a very phenomenal job of just going out there and competing. I think he's one of those guys that's kind of got that dog mentality in him that go out there and win me a game. Not to say Rocco Becht doesn't, but if I had to make a pick between these two, I'm going with Avery Johnson. Now, it's very close, like money line wise. They're only minus 165, which is basically nothing, right? Like that means it could go either way. 3.5 point favorites, basically nothing again. That means they're just slightly favorited to win this game. It's going to be good. It's going to start off our year hot. I think the Iowa State defense is going to be solid. I think their defense is probably going to be better than Kansas State's, but I look at the offense. I think Kansas State's defense can hold that Iowa State offense for long enough that Avery Johnson can get a little bit of a lead to work with and make Rocco Becht and the company play catch up. I'm going to go with Kansas State to win. I really want to see that. Like, we are less than 24 hours away from this game. I am chomping at the bit to get to it. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And Avery Johnson and Rocco Becht are going to put on a show for us. But I am going to rock with Avery Johnson and Kansas State to win this one. This is our game of the week. Now, just a reminder to go over kind of our picks. We have Kansas State. We have Stanford to win that one. We have Western Kentucky barely winning. We have Kansas. And then we have UNLV. Now, that brings it back to me. Anyways, we're going to keep track just on my straight up predictions. We're not going to go like against the spread or anything crazy. We're just going to look at, did I get the winner right? So next week, maybe I'll be 5-0, maybe I'll be 0-5, maybe I'll be somewhere in the middle. I don't know. But let's get into week 0, man. It's an exciting time to be a college football fan, and we are rewarded with such a treat of Iowa State and Kansas State tomorrow morning. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.